talk about the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 742, Air.
Bam.
It's, how do you get the title wrong on air? Like, I like to always get the titles wrong.
Can't.
But I just couldn't come up with one. There's
nothing.
One word, 3 letters. Like, how do you...
Just do it.
It's an Urge song, isn't it?
Air?
No. What?
Oh,
Four
letters and 3 words.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a local reference.
Our apologies to Steve Ewing.
That's right.
They were
correct.
almost a national reference.
So close.
So close.
Went to high school with those guys.
Yeah. We had the 2 bands from that era that got so close.
Gravity Kills?
Well, I would say they made it. I mean, they were in a David Fincher film, right?
That's fair. Yeah.
But New World Spirits.
I don't remember them.
Oh, yeah. They sing Bed. That was probably...
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they got signed to a national label.
Yeah.
And had a national release. But it was like the way I remember it is the president of the label changed like 2 weeks before their record came out. And the new guy was like, well, they're not one of my bands. They're not a priority.
Goodbye.
And they just kind of...
That stinks.
Yeah.
I do still love me some Urge, though.
Yeah, Urge is great, and so is New World Spirits.
Yeah,
so.
let's do it.
Yeah. Story of the Year made it.
That's true. I said from that era.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Story of the Year is not from that era.
How many other St. Louis bands are that made it? Are there...
Pavlov's Dog?
I mean, they're big here.
I guess that's true.
What?
Chuck Berry?
Chuck Berry, Story of the Year.
Fair.
And Nelly?
Nelly?
Nellie's
huge.
Yep,
And
good
Nelly's,
call.
you know.
Yeah, that's
Nelly is
probably
maybe
about
one
it
of the
that I can
biggest.
think
Yeah, I think Nelly is, not counting Chuck Berry,
Right.
is the biggest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in a Robert Zemeckis
And I mean,
movie.
I used to live down the street from the guys in Story of the Year. They're from North County. They lived in
Oh,
Woodson
really?
Terrace. They lived at the other end of the block of, like... They lived like 4 houses down from me. Because I would always see their van. At the time, the band was called Big Blue Monkey.
Yeah.
And so whenever we would drive by, like Zach was little, and we'd be like, monkey, 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 whenever we'd see the Big Blue Monkey van.
Did they break off and do something else? Or
They become Story of the Year.
didn't Story of the Year become something else?
Was one of the guys in Greek Fire, maybe?
That's what it was.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Moon.
Yeah.
Was in Greek Fire.
But yeah, in fact, one of the guys, I don't even know which one, but one of the guys, the stereo got stolen out of my car because I lived in North County.
Sure.
And so when I took it to Best Buy to get a new stereo put in, one of the guys was like, "Oh, you live down the street from me." And I was like, "Are you the Big Blue Monkey guy?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, how about that?"
There you go.
I get a hookup? No.
And, yeah, and he's like, "You're the guy who always parks the Point van in his driveway."
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh, yeah." I'm
I
like,
am
that's
that
why
guy.
you know who I am. Okay, I get it.
And he's like, I'm enjoying your stereo. It's nice.
yeah.
And now that guy's on the Point, if it's the same guy.
Yeah, I don't know who it was that installed it, but then he brought me some CDs, and
Nice.
And I was just like, I don't make these sorts of decisions. And I gave him to
funny.
Donnie.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
you're going to give it to anybody.
And
That's the
now
guy to
look,
give it to.
and now look,
Yeah.
so-
Story of the Year.
I know.
Story.
There it is.
Yes. So anyway, before we get to all that, I guess we should all introduce ourselves.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
And this is Tom. Shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeart, TuneIn. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review.
Somebody did.
Oh, did they?
They did.
Was it good? Or is
Yeah.
it worth reading?
It's worth reading.
Okay.
5 stars. Love you guys. From Bumblebee Loves You.
Must be a Transformers fan.
Oh, I was like Bumblebee Tuna from Ace Ventura, but that's also dated myself.
Wow. Old man.
A great show. Feels like I'm hanging out with my friends who actually like the same movies that I do sometimes, which is great. Always makes my day, and I appreciate all the hard work. So thanks, Bumblebee.
Well, yes, thank you.
That's very nice of you.
Especially since we're recording this on Mother's Day.
That's
so
right.
one or more of us could be single by the time this airs.
I mean, somebody was at one point because he recorded on a Mother's Day.
I don't think
1, 2, 3, not it.
Yeah. I don't think that was what
No.
really
No, it
was
was
driving
not.
that. Yeah. So, where was that? Oh, yeah, shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Facebook. You can find us there, facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It's called the League of Show Shares because we're hoping you'll share an episode. Lots of people shared an episode last week.
Oh, great. Guardians.
At Guardians. So
Yeah.
lots of people that, were like, I didn't see whatever dumb movie you did this week.
Yeah,
but I saw Guardians.
I saw Guardians.
Yeah. So people who were kind enough to share an episode include librarian Cynthia, Lane Levanway, Ralph Tribble, Tammy Lynn Powers Betts, Julianne Jordan, Chris Sanders, Travis Tewitt, who just had a baby.
Congratulations,
Well, he didn't, but
Travis.
his wife did.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so
Is the baby in radio?
no.
Okay.
No, I mean, these babies are so lazy.
I'm telling you. All I do is lay there and poop.
I know.
And pee.
So Chris Vols, speaking of laying and pooping and peeing, I don't know.
I mean, at some point, maybe not all at the same time.
Well,
Or
I mean,
maybe.
it depends on how your weekend
Yeah,
went.
that's true.
Phil Timon, Chris Magic Man, Gabriel Lugo, Laura Connolly Quiddick, Dissect That Film, Brent Smith, Christopher Rex, Heather Sachs, Batman Rye Guy, James Install, David Rojas, Blake Fail? Do I?
Epically.
Yeah.
Epically.
Fail.
Blake Fail, Colby Mack, Mike, and Oscar, Ronnie Castle, Binge Movies, Feel and Film, Matt Naglia, In Session Film, and Nostalgia Cast. So thank you very much
Thanks,
for that.
everybody.
And finally, don't forget we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Real Spoilers.
I was just checking. Our Guardians episode put us to the number 81 podcast in the U.S. for film and television.
How
Look
about
at that.
that? That's
So,
pretty great.
I mean,
that's-
In the U.S.?
Yeah.
Hey, that's
Yeah.
all right.
So we've been number 10 is our highest we've ever placed,
Yeah.
which I think is when we got a lot of listeners in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then
we got featured in
We
New and
did.
Notable.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were the top. We were the top 10, and then I think if I look back, we hover around. Let's see. Last month in April, we were 80 again, 79, 71.
that's our spot, baby.
Yeah.
71 last week, 81. So which was after this one. So yeah. So we hover around the 50s to 70s, which is pretty cool.
I mean,
for
in the US,
of all
that's
the
pretty
podcasts
impressive.
in the US for
Yeah.
film and television. But yeah, the Guardians
We just keep lowering the bar.
but you think about it, there's more and more competition
Absolutely.
for
Right,
movie
yeah.
podcasts.
Yes,
It's not like
for
people
sure.
they're not falling off as quick as they're adding on, right?
Correct.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. So thank you everyone for your listening, of course, but you're sharing all that stuff helps get us seen, and the higher we rank, the more people will find us and check us out and everything. So it really does help.
It does.
Absolutely.
Big time.
So, and you can also watch us on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can watch these if that's
Yeah.
your jam.
Yeah, we got 220 subscribers now, so
Yeah,
we're
getting there.
slowly but surely. Yeah.
Anyway, there's all that. Let's dig in to Air.
This was fun.
Yeah, it was.
This is really good.
This is just like a solid movie. You know,
Yeah.
like it's a good story. It's funny. It's interesting.
It's funny. This is a trope that you don't normally see outside of biopics about bands,
oh,
which is we all know that this guy who has this crazy idea is right. So
Correct.
like we get to like enjoy how wrong everybody is.
Yeah.
But like the whole time I watch the movie, I'm like, I mean, I know the guy's wrong, but he's not wrong.
Right.
Right.
Right,
Like,
right,
it's,
right.
it's like this guy. What's his name? The Matt Damon character.
that's all you need.
The Matt Damon character. Yep. I mean, it's only because he happened to pick the greatest athlete in the history of the sport. And honestly,
Yeah, Ronda Rousey.
yeah. Yeah, she's the greatest athlete in the history of the NBA.
She was most popular,
Recognizable.
not greatest.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that was
That's
but
not the case anymore.
like all it took to change the entire course of this, all it would have taken was for Michael Jordan to trip over a curb.
that's exactly it.
and it's
He says
totally
that.
different. Yeah.
I love that he says that. He's like, look, at the end of the movie,
Yeah.
when everything goes down, and Michael Jordan's mom,
Yeah.
says he wants a part of the shoe sales, and he's just
it's a
like,
guaranteed contract.
he could blow his knee out tomorrow. And
Right.
She was like,
Which wouldn't affect from the sales percentage, but the guaranteed $250,000 for 5 years, that's guaranteed. That's like baseball. That's like
Yeah.
you sign up, you get injured, and you get $20 million a year. Like you're
That's
getting
it.
that.
You're
It doesn't
right.
matter.
You're getting the money.
So Sonny Vaccaro is the guy that Matt Damon plays.
But it is to your point though. I do like that we know
Right.
who he's going to become, but at that moment, right when he gets drafted, nobody really knows.
Yeah.
You know, they're like he was really good in college,
Right.
But nobody knows what he was going to be when he is probably. And I don't think they're wrong. I think he probably is the greatest competitive athlete ever.
Yeah.
Like that dude is on another
Yeah, because
level.
Better
like-
than LeBron. People,
Yes.
some
Yeah.
people
Yes.
argue that.
They're
How many-
wrong. I know
Yes.
nothing about sports,
okay.
but they're wrong.
Yes.
Okay.
When
Yeah.
Shaq says, like, I'm going to listen to the guy that played the game when somebody is trying to say that Jordan or that LeBron is better than
Yeah.
Jordan, and then the guy who played against Jordan is like, no.
I'm just saying people make that argument. I don't follow sports either, but I know some
You
people
can
try to
make the
say
argument.
LeBron is.
You can
a
try to
better
make that
player,
argument. You can try.
Yeah. But, it's really interesting, though. Like you said, I mean, it's very reasonable of all the people around him to be like,
Right.
you're insane, right?
Yeah.
And also this guy, they show he has a bit of a gambling problem.
Right.
And what he's doing is he's taking big...
He's gambling Nike's money. Now, I will also say, from the way this movie makes it play out, and I know nothing about this story other than what the movie shows me,
Sure.
so I don't, like, it could be total BS, right?
Right.
But it also seems like the basketball division of Nike was circling the drain. So, like,
Yeah.
they needed to either take a big swing, not to mix metaphors, or just be done with
Or
it.
punch
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Or get off the pot.
There you go.
To
All work.
To go back to
Correct.
you know,
Earlier today.
Travis T. Witt's babies or Chris Paul's.
They needed a hole-in-one or it was going to be a fumble.
That's right.
Right.
Man.
So,
That, as a guy who watches sports, that was a hard thing to listen to.
yeah.
Better hope it's not a safety.
I know. Do you know what a safety is?
Yeah.
What?
It's when you tackle the
You, like,
quarterback into the end zone.
It's like when you basically score in your own end
Yeah.
zone.
I am very impressed.
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, you're
well
welcome.
done. But I think
I watched a TV show about football one time.
Yeah.
Friday Night Lights.
Yeah. You're like, it was a plot point in the movie Gus about the field goal kicking donkey.
the longest yard.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know those
Burt
Air
Reynolds?
Bud movies?
There's a lot of those.
They come in handy. So
And they need 4 shoes. Why didn't they go after dogs? That's true. Right?
Air Bud.
Sell 2 pairs to every.
yeah.
I mean, they do kind of make a mention that their running shoes are kicking ass.
Right.
But I mean, even when they say that, though,
I think at the time the thought process was like, well, regular people,
Yeah.
will wear a running shoe out and about,
Yes.
as a sneaker,
Right.
but they won't with a basketball shoe. Like it's a special.
High
I
tops.
think the thought process was it was almost like trying to get people to wear cleats.
Yeah.
it's like, well, you wear those when you play
It's for
baseball,
the game,
Yep.
yeah.
and then you're done and you take them.
you take
off.
them off. I remember as a kid who read comics, and an adult who reads comics.
And as a middle-aged
As a
man,
middle-aged man, a teenager, okay.
Yeah.
But on the back of all of those issues were those Dr. J,
Yeah.
Larry Bird Converse ads.
Yeah.
Like if you're
going to go one of two ways back then with your future. You were either going to go the Dr. J route, or
Correct.
you were going to go what I did, the Hostess cupcake route. I went with Hostess cupcakes.
But that's the thing, right? So at this point in
There
time,
were no Nike ads.
There
That's
were
what I'm
no,
saying.
But there
Yeah.
were no shoes like this that became fashion statements. Now you wear Jordans, and that's a status symbol.
Right.
If you have these
Yeah, you better not
$300
scuff 'em.
But I mean, they're $200-$300.
I bought
but
my first pair of Air Jordans like 8 months
You
ago.
own a pair of Air Jordans?
I own a pair of Air Jordans.
which kind?
I don't know. The Air Jordan.
Well, but there's so many different.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what they were.
They just came out with the new Spider-Verse ones.
I did see those.
I got
Those
them
are
for a
pretty
friend.
dope.
I got
Did
them.
you?
You have to enter a raffle. You get to
It's
buy the
it's
release.
crazy.
You have to sign up with all this stuff, put in a raffle, then they go pending all day at wait, and then it's like, you got them. So I just got them for my friend, but they're really cool looking.
I did not get like a hard to get kind.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
sure,
curious
sure,
what-
sure.
I was like, so we were going to this thing in New York where we had to dress up, and I was like, well, I'm only going to kind of dress up.
Oh,
and
so, right, so you needed fashionable
so I-
sneakers.
But
Yeah.
those sneakers work.
They did, and
Yeah.
so like I had a suit coat, but I had like a Speed Racer T-shirt on, and then Air Jordans.
You're like our version of Kevin Smith.
But the point is,
I also have lost a lot of weight and don't smoke pot.
yeah. So, but that's the thing is, so at this point in time, you weren't wearing them as a fashion statement. So people were going to see him on the court in these shoes,
right.
and then they would become obviously the huge.
So having never worn a pair until my 50s, they're uncomfortable. I don't understand why people wear them
Because
all
they're
the time.
they're not jogging running shoes.
They're
which
not
is
comfortable,
what,
and I
yeah.
can't believe like that people play sports in these things.
They don't.
What isn't that what he wears on the court? They're so
So-
heavy and clunky. I felt like I was Impulse.
I don't
from
think that the
Flash
Jordans
comics.
are. I don't think Jordans are worn.
That joke was only for you.
I know, and it
no
was
one
really
else
good.
is getting that joke.
I was a good joke.
Yeah.
I don't think that the Jordans get worn on the court anymore. I think
it's safe to say we don't know. We can't answer that question.
I mean,
But isn't that the whole
But if
point?
that-
He
but
wore
if
them on the
that's your
court
thing-
and people bought them?
And back then, maybe.
Yes.
I don't know if today they still do, but my guess is that if you have a brand that big, they probably still make basketball shoes for the players.
well, it depends on who
Is
has
it the
the
ankle
contract.
support? Is that why? Because, I mean, they do.
Yeah, they go up
Yeah,
higher.
you tie them up. You're supposed
Yeah.
to tie them up around your ankles, and you don't break your
Now,
ankles.
to be fair, you bought them and then wore them one time. Maybe they break in when you play basketball.
you don't.
know what I mean?
You
Like-
do not wear Jordans to play basketball anymore.
Yeah.
That's
No,
not a
but-
thing anymore.
But maybe they do have a kind that the players wear.
Maybe.
though.
Well, what I'm saying is like that depends on who is the sponsor for the NBA, which I don't know. Right? Like Adidas is the sponsor for the NHL, so all of the gear
Do
with
you know it's pronounced Adidas?
it's okay. It's Adidas.
Let you know.
I've been wearing Samba since I was 4.
And hillbillies want to be called people of the land.
But it ain't gonna happen. Well, that is a deep Simpsons reference, and that's a good one. That is a good one.
So, do you guys know the story of Nike? How it came to be?
It's probably something with Nazis.
No, that's Adidas.
No, right?
okay.
That's Adidas.
I read this book, and it was called, like, The Secret History of Corporations. And I was like, oh, this would be...
They were all, yeah.
Every one of them was like, oh, yeah, they were Nazis. Like,
Yeah,
every
right.
one of them.
By the way,
Volkswagen, Hugo Boss.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Like,
of-
was it like Chanel number 5?
Amazon.
Yeah, it was like every one of them was like, well, they started
Well,
as
that's
Nazis.
just the Tiki Torch division. So Phil Knight wanted to do something. He didn't know what he was going to do, and he noticed that he's like a business school guy, and he noticed that the Japanese had these shoes that they didn't have this style in the U.S. and no one was importing them. So Nike started out importing Japanese shoes. That's how the company starts, and then they get into this. They get popular. They're making several $100,000 worth of sales in the first few years and all that, and then the Japanese manufacturer tries to cut them out. They realize they're like, well, like, yeah, this is great. Now our brand is
But,
out
like,
there.
we can
And-
sell them.
Yeah, well, and they're also like this little company, Blue Ribbon Shoes, that he just kind of made up on the spot when he had the meeting with them, and then that was their company name. They're not big enough. Like, now people want these shoes, and we can get someone to really distribute them and sell them. And so then what would become Nike went out and decided to make their own shoes because they're like, well, these guys are trying to get out of the contract and get other people behind our back. We have the exclusivity. So they went and designed their own shoes, and that's where the guy, isn't it Peter, Phil, the guy that designed the Jordan, the guy, the designer,
the guy
that
who
they said
said
passed
the
away
guy
just
with the
before
cleft
movie.
palate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He,
The guy's clearly on the spectrum.
Absolutely. Well, so like that guy, that actor always kind of plays it. Like
Yeah.
you see that guy all the time.
Yeah.
And he always kind of plays that guy.
Yeah.
So, but I did think I
But
was
for
like,
this guy to be that focused on
Peter.
shoes, like, I'm thinking he's on this. I don't even mean it in a mean way.
No,
I'm just
no.
like,
The way he
people-
plays it.
But people who are on the spectrum, they get hyper focused on one thing and they end up really excelling at it because it's the only thing
their
their
thing.
mind thinks about.
it is their thing.
So Peter Moore is the real guy.
and they said that
Peter
the
Moore
real guy passed away.
right before the
like
movie.
a week
yeah.
before it got announced,
Dang.
it was going into production.
But so he's played by Matthew Mayer, is
Okay.
the actor's name. But I believe he's the one that Phil Knight found right in the beginning when they were trying to design their own shoes. And he was actually making changes and things to the Japanese shoes, and the Japanese were kind of ignoring him and
He's a
just
shoe hacker.
yeah. And so I believe he's the one that, you know, was with the company pretty early on and then would go on to design the Jordan and everything. But so they started out as a company importing Japanese shoes and then decided to make their own, which would become Nike. And it's interesting. I didn't know they had the root in that. I watched a little documentary thinking like, well, how did Nike start? I don't know anything of their story.
I remember when I was a kid, like those Nike, getting a pair of Nikes, like that was the
was a big deal.
that was a
and
big deal.
And jogging wasn't even popular until Nike's. So they actually
Jogging.
they actually made the act of jogging like that wasn't a thing until Nike's.
There's a
And-
great scene in a relatively little known Albert Brooks movie called Modern Romance.
Yeah.
Which is such a funny movie. But where he decides to take up jogging.
Okay.
And the guy's trying to sell him all the jogging equipment. And so it's Albert Brooks and his brother,
Super Dave, right?
Super Dave.
Yeah.
So Albert Brooks' real last name is Einstein.
Yeah.
But he had to change it because
Gee, I wonder why.
yeah. But his brother's Dave Einstein. So
he's in Curb Your Enthusiasm.
yes.
Yeah. He's great.
That's what people would probably at least recently
Well,
know
yeah.
him.
Yeah, like people of my age know him as Super Dave Osborne.
But-
Younger people know him from Curb Your Enthusiasm. But
Yeah.
Marty
He's so good. on
Bowser.
He's the
Curb.
guy with the
Something like
voice. The voice.
Yeah.
He's the guy
Yes.
that's like, well, I can't even do
It's
that.
super, like,
how it's
raspy.
like, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you're breathing in as you're speaking, but I
He
can't
got
even
punched
do
in
it.
the throat.
But their dad was actually a very famous radio comedian.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And he's kind of, and then now he's kind of famous for, he literally died on stage. Like he
Oh,
was on
dang.
stage and like had a heart attack.
Who did?
Their father.
Albert
Their
Brooks.
father
Albert
was on
Brooks'
stage?
dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But anyway, it's called Modern Romance. It's a really funny movie, but it's kind of like quiet funny.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my favorite Albert Brooks movie. I like it better than Lost in America.
Really?
Yeah. And
Okay.
but there's a
How about
scene.
Defending
Yeah,
Your Life?
I think the last half of Defending Your Life just falls apart.
Oh.
But Lost in America is great. Defending Your Life is good, but it just doesn't. I don't know. To me, it doesn't stick the landing. But Modern Romance, my favorite.
Okay.
And but there's a scene where he's selling him jogging because jogging is new.
Yeah.
Right.
And you had all that gear.
And it's just Dave being such a condescending prick to Albert Brooks. And I'm watching this and I'm like, I think this was probably their entire relationship.
I
growing
think
up.
the character on Curb is not far off.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty spot on.
But that's what you see in the movie when they're talking about like this basketball part is nothing. Like they had become a behemoth when it came to jogging
Yes.
shoes,
Yeah.
and that's what they mentioned in the film.
So focus
So
on what's working. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it. Like
they
you know,
revolutionized and basically popularized jogging, and everyone was buying Nikes.
That-
so
that
that
last-
20 whatever percent of the share of all shoes sold was basically all jogging shoes.
that last scene of the movie when Matt Damon's going to go jogging and he starts and he was like, no,
that
was
no,
good.
this
No,
is
this
dumb.
is-
What
this
am
is
I? This is awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this, like we said,
Sonny.
he's a scout. He's going to high school games, but he's apparently like one of the greatest scouts ever. He can see talent in someone almost immediately.
But he's not a talent scout. He's like a what would you call it? An endorsement scout.
I guess that's fair, but
Right? He's trying to look for players that they're going to be able to get cheap enough, but
Yes.
they'll become
Right.
the next big thing. So,
so
they
they've got
Not to mix metaphors. He's trying to moneyball.
this.
I thought of
Exactly
Moneyball.
right.
That did remind me a lot of Moneyball.
This is-
Also, in the fact that you don't really have to care about sports,
Right.
to appreciate the business aspect that
For sure.
revolves around.
This is
sports.
like The Big Short, but not as serious. Like
Yeah.
there are parts I got a lot of Big Short and Moneyball vibes from this movie, but it definitely doesn't take itself. The
it's
comedy
entertaining.
is very similar to Moneyball,
Yeah, it's
where it's
entertaining.
like under the table.
Yeah.
It's just when Moneyball, if you've never seen
agree.
it, is
It's
absolutely
great.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And this wasn't written by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Obviously, Affleck directs it. Damon's the
It
star
wasn't-
of
it
it.
wasn't written by them?
But it wasn't. And so
Oh.
I was thinking like maybe their writing had something to do with that. But it was written by Alex Convery.
Converse.
Converse wrote it. It's a really
Golly.
a hit piece. It's his
Well,
only
Nike
writing.
owns Converse.
It's his only writing credit.
Well,
Like,
he did a hell of a job.
He's not even clickable on Wikipedia.
so it really surprised me because I figured, oh well, some of this banter and all that is Affleck and
Right.
Damon writing that,
Yeah.
but this guy wrote it, and it really felt like it reminded me of more of a early, like a Good Will Hunting type, or not. I know Sorkin is definitely more heavy, more monologue, but still like that fast, like that
Right.
real conversations.
Lots of walk and talks.
Walk
quick
and talks,
patter,
people, funny.
repartee.
Yes, exactly. And so I was really impressed to see because I just presumed they wrote it.
It's
or
a pretty
had
great cast, right?
it's a
You've got
fantastic
Jason
cast,
Bateman,
yeah.
who anytime you get to see him show up is
he's
always good stuff. You got Viola Davis playing Michael Jordan's mom. I do like
Chris
that-
Messina is the agent.
Oh, that's who I
Yeah.
knew that guy. Jay Moore, which I didn't recognize him at first.
Jay Moore was in this?
Jay Moore is the attorney in the very beginning of the movie. He's the attorney for Adidas.
Adidas.
I did
Oh,
not-
Adidas is why you don't recognize
Yeah, that's my point, Tom.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't-
Marlon Wayans.
Marlon Wayans, who gives Chris Tucker,
Tucker,
like
yeah.
two dudes. I was like, man, I watched these guys all the time when I was younger, and both of them give great performances in
It's-
this movie.
It's the dialogue of Chris Tucker in particular where
Yeah.
I'm just like, and he's doing a great job delivering it, but it's that fast-paced, funny dialogue where I'm
Right.
like, who wrote this thing? And
But
it's
I
really
felt like he
good.
tried to get away for that for a second, right? Like he doesn't. Was he in Silver Linings Playbook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he like that the whole Friday
Yeah, he was
thing.
trying to
Yeah.
like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
rush hour kind of get away from that, and he didn't hear
No.
like the
But
way he delivered stuff felt like the old Chris
It
Tucker.
is funny, but it still isn't
It is
as
not
goofy. I mean, there's serious stuff in it too, but he does a great job of delivering comedy, but like you said, kind of underhand. It doesn't undermine the serious stuff going on.
And it makes sense for who he is and what he's doing.
Right.
And you could see it's like a character that character
Yes.
slips in and out of.
Right.
Right.
When he
Because
needs to.
When he goes into the boardroom, he was like really kind of over the top.
Yes.
And it's just like, dude,
Ramped it up.
dial it back.
Yeah.
Like,
ramped it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and I do like that we never see Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I read an article where they were talking to Affleck, Damon, both of them, and they were saying that like
that kind of won.
yeah, they said that they were just like he's too visually recognizable.
Yeah.
They're like anybody we cast, that it's just going to be. But that's not Michael Jordan. And,
I was wondering if it was a rights issue, but then they had all the footage.
No,
Yeah.
that's a smart decision. Who are you
and
going
I
to get
believe
to
they
play?
said they went to Jordan and they were like, "Are you okay with this?" Like, I don't think he made anything off this movie, but that if he was like, they'd have been, they just wouldn't have moved forward.
Sure.
But he was okay with it. But I guess
He said you have to have Viola Davis play my mom.
Did he really say
And
that?
that was his demand. He said that's fine, but Viola Davis needs to play my
Hey.
mom. So they're like, okay, they had to call.
Man, I forgot that his dad got shot.
yeah,
I completely forgot about that. But that happened like at almost the same time that Cosby's son got shot.
did it.
I feel like those were like around the same time.
Yeah, I had no idea.
But
That Gonzaga thing is a Kimmel bit, right? Because they're all friends, or Matt Damon especially. Kimmel has a bit on his late night show of this Gonzaga University. He says, like, during the Final Four and stuff, he's like, this is a made up school. I don't think this exists. But they say it like 3 times and they talk about it. I'm like, they had to put that in there for Kimmel.
That must have been.
With the connection. Because
Yeah.
they're like, because they say that a couple times and they're like, where's Gonzaga? And he says, Washington State. Because, yeah, Kimmel's always like, that doesn't exist. Where is
Right.
this school?
I have
So,
a parking lot on my campus called Gonzaga.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically Nike has, was it 25 grand, 4 increments of 25 grand
They have 250,000.
250,000 is their budget.
for 4 players.
And
That's what they wanted.
the theory is that they're going to spread it out over 2 or 3 lesser players because they can't compete against the big names,
Right.
And so they're going to spread it out over 2 or 3 and hope that one of them
hits.
pops. Yeah,
So
Sonny gets the idea
Sonny
of like,
sees Jordan play, and he was like, "Look, I know that he is going to sign with Converse. Like, we know that's going to happen. You let me take a shot and see if we'll give him the whole thing." And Affleck's like, "You out of your mind? Like, you can't give him $250,000."
so Converse wants him.
Converse has him.
Adidas wants him, and he loves their tracksuits. So
because Adidas is very big in the hip hop world at this
Yes,
point.
with Run DMC
Yeah.
and all, they are blowing
yeah,
up.
so he's like, so they're going to try to get him, and he loves their clothes, but he takes his Converses off and turns it
changes-
all Adidas afterwards. So like,
Yeah.
that's what he really loves, and so they're going to try to get him, and then
Get away with that before smartphones.
I have Adidas on my feet.
and he's basically like, he'll sign with whoever has the money except for Nike. Nike is the least cool because they're jogging shoes.
Right,
like that,
right.
they're not known as cool.
No.
And so it's an uphill battle where he's like, there's no way all these other people want him. They've got the money, and he doesn't want Nike.
And the other problem is that even if they come in at 250, there's a good chance that one of these other companies is going to go, okay, 255.
Yeah, they're gonna match,
Right.
And
yeah.
what are you going to do?
Nothing.
Yeah.
And Nike's entire budget, as we mentioned, is $250. It's not, okay, well, yeah, we've got $250 if he'll take it. It's like, no, that's supposed to buy them several players. So he comes up with this crazy idea where he's just like, look, I know this guy is the next one. But then, when he's meeting with Phil Knight, played by Ben Affleck, Affleck's like, what about the guy you said last year and the year before?
You've said this before.
Right,
You've bet
right.
big on these guys, and they didn't take off the way you said. And then, he does that thing, but it also does kind of sound like a degenerate gambler a little bit. He's like, this is the one. I really know this. He wasn't wrong, but I mean, then again, he did that before too. So it just sounds like someone that I can see why they'd be hesitant. Basically.
Yes. Yeah, it makes sense for Ben Affleck's character to be like, look, man,
Yeah.
like you want to blow the whole budget on this one kid. So he puts a plan together, he being Sonny, where he wants to talk, like he calls the agent. He calls Michael Jordan's agent.
Chris Messina.
Mm-hmm. And they have a almost like Tropic Thunder style confrontation where he's like, look, just get me in the room. Just get me in the room with them. And he's like, no, like there's no way. And I do think it's kind of weird that Chris Messina was like, no.
I think it's because in his mind, Jordan's already said this brand is dog.
time. He said,
Oh,
no,
so
I will not.
if all of a sudden your agent says talk to them anyway, well, you're like, but I told you.
Yeah.
I
it's going to
don't
make
wanna-
him look bad.
I don't
yeah.
want this.
Right. That's
He-
fair.
He
That's
said
fair.
he said if anyone that gives him $250,000 in a red Mercedes, he'll sign it with, except for
Except
Nike.
for Nike.
So even if he gets everything he wants, so as the agent, yeah, if you come to your client, you're like, yeah, but I mean, you're just gonna. He doesn't want to get fired.
That's true.
basically.
That's true. Yeah, it's you don't want to get fired by the guy who will become the great, literally the logo
Plus,
of the
well,
NBA.
but he's already got a deal set up basically with Converse or Adidas, where
I
and
thought the
he's,
NBA logo was somebody else.
Oh, I thought it was him.
I don't think so. It's like
Was it
somebody
Bill
from
Lan-
It's like somebody from the set. They won't admit that it's him
Oh,
because
really?
if they do,
have to pay him.
They have to pay him, even though everybody
Oh.
knows it's really this guy. But it's not Jordan. I read an article about
Okay,
it. and
okay.
it
I was just
really
thinking
interesting.
of the typical Jordan logo, but I guess
Yeah.
that could just be for the Air Jordans.
I think that's the Air Jordan logo that
okay,
you're thinking
okay.
of. But the NBA logo, I think it's also the silhouette of a guy, but it's a player.
oh, it's him
like-
dribbling a ball. That's
yeah,
what it is.
Yeah, it's like a player
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the
yeah.
70s.
You're
and
right.
they won't, like I said, they won't admit that it's him, but everybody
You know
knows
that
it's him.
guy's like, that's me.
Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah.
So, but he's already got this deal lined up, and he gets a percentage of the deal. So why does he want to screw that up or rock the boat? He wants to close this deal and get paid.
And Sonny's like, which Sonny realizes this is it. Like, and he kind of says he's like, I'm done. Like, I don't.
Well, he sees the dying division, like Tom said. They've got this board, and they're trying to go after fifth-round draft picks, and he has that really good line in there where he's like, telling the board member guy throws out a name, and he's like, tell me about this guy. And he's like, oh, he's a good player. And he's like, yeah, you picked him because he's a fifth-round draft pick. Like, that's the highest that we could possibly get still. Like,
That's
just admit it.
I like that.
because
I love that scene when, guys who are in the trenches know what they're talking
Right,
about, and
and
some
board-
dude
and
in the
people on
board
the
member's
board
like,
are like-
oh, it's this guy. Like, tell me about
'Cause-
him.
yeah, Sonny's out there, like you said, he's looking at high schools and colleges, and he's going out and he's finding these players, and then you have people trying to throw the darts at a
They're
board.
not Ted Lasso.
So it's funny to see that scene, but he's right where he's like, you guys don't know, and this guy, yeah, he's the fifth round draft
He's
pick.
like, if
but-
you pick this guy and you're wrong, no one's going to yell at you.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
But
Yeah.
they're also if they don't get a star, it's been a couple years now without it, and if they don't do it soon, like no one's going to care, and yeah, their basketball division's going to be gone.
And
Gone.
that's I would have liked to have seen some more insight into just exactly what convinced Jordan to go with a company that was really floundering.
Besides the speech,
besides the speech, 'cause
Yeah.
I
honestly, it was probably.
what was that percentage deal?
I think
Yeah.
that could have been it.
They weren't
in
going to
real
do
life,
it. We find
you know?
out, spoilers to the very end though, but they work out a deal where it's not just $250,000 a year, which was the highest offer a competitor would have made, but a percentage, and that just didn't happen.
Yeah.
You were paid an endorsement deal. You knew what you were getting.
Isn't
that
that
was it.
crazy?
And
Like
then
to think about where we are today.
to get points on every product sold, it changed the industry.
Yeah.
So-
and I do like the line from Viola Davis. She's like, sometimes there's one person that needs to come along and
Yeah.
break the cycle, and it's gonna be my
And that-
son.
But what a great line for not just then, but today, and not just basketball, but like people get so complacent with, well, this is just the way it is,
Right.
Sure.
And nothing changes
Well, it's
until someone comes and
It changes it.
yeah.
it's a form of collusion, right? Like there's
Kinda.
only 3 companies, and as long as all of them agreed,
Right.
we're not going to give anybody a piece,
Right.
Then it would work, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as somebody caves, now everybody wants it.
well, and they have to, because otherwise, well, I'm going to go to Nike where
Right.
This is your wrestling reference.
Oh.
That's what WCW did. That's how they
they give them
signed.
points
They signed guaranteed money. Vince,
on the merch.
on the contract. Vince did not do guaranteed money.
Oh.
You were guaranteed, a certain amount, a small amount, but then all the money you would make would be on the gates, on merch,
yeah.
stuff like that.
I heard.
Where they
I was
go-
listening to a podcast where someone says that none of the WWE employees are employees; they're independent contractors.
All of the
So
wrestlers are independent
They make them
contractors.
sign non-competes and stuff, but then they're not even employees.
Correct.
So if they get hurt or they fire them or whatever, don't give them work, they can't go anywhere, and they have no.
If you get fired, they have a 90-day no compete clause, so you have to sit for 90
but
days.
they're not employees, so they can't
No.
collect unemployment
Or
what a-
healthcare.
Man, what a shady. Yeah.
But what Eric Bischoff did is he told Kevin Nash, he told Scott Hall, I will give you $500,000 a year set. And that's and you'll have X amount of dates. Done.
Yeah.
And then all the guys at the WWF were like,
Oh.
hey, what'd you get? And
Yeah.
I don't have to, it's
Guaranteed
money.
money. Yeah.
And that changed the industry
Interesting.
for wrestling. Yeah. So he lays out this plan, and Chris Messina says, no, you're not, don't go anywhere near him. Don't
call
talk to
them.
him. Don't call them. Oh, that's true. He does say don't call them.
He doesn't think anyone would be bold enough to just show up, so he's like, do not call them.
And he says, okay, I won't.
Call them.
So he gets in his car.
And he talks to Jason Bateman, and like he thinks
Well,
this idea
even
is,
Bateman says, don't you dare.
Well,
Right.
Bateman is like
It's a very large breach of etiquette.
yeah. Well, and Bateman, he tells Bateman, he's like, I want to give it all to Jordan. I want to give the whole 250. He's like, no. He's like, that's our whole budget.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen, whatever. And they're all just like, no, you can't do this. He goes to Phil Knight, and he's like, no, I want to go out with people. He's like, no. And so he basically is like, I got nothing left. This is dying. I got to pick a winner here. And so he bets his
Is
whole
this when
career.
he goes and talks to Marlon Wayans?
Marlon Wayans. Yep. So Marlon Wayans was like an Olympic coach.
He was the Olympic.
that-
Yes, you're right. He was the Olympic team coach who coached Jordan.
Yeah, and at the end of the movie, they say that Jordan admitted like he had a huge. He wouldn't have gone with Nike had this coach not kind of talked to him and said yes, because I guess Sonny was friends with this coach, and the coach was head coach Jordan and was friends with him, so he kind of convinced him too. Like Nike's good people, and they
Right.
you know.
So he goes to North Carolina. Sonny goes to North Carolina. I do like the guy that plays Jordan's dad is just kind of like along for the ride. He's like, man, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
he's
he's
like,
just like,
That's mom's doing
Yep,
that.
Viola Davis takes care of the business and takes care
Yeah.
and keeps Michael safe as far as like the corporations and things like that. And he's just out fixing his car.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just hanging out. So, and Sonny, again, what I appreciate about is there's at no point, obviously you can't do this because he's the hero of the story, sort of, but at no point do you feel like he's being a shyster.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like he's being honest. He's like, look, I've seen your son play. I know what he can do. I believe in your son. I believe he's going to be the greatest.
I guess where I struggle with that part of the story is they have to be hearing that from
All
so
the
many
time.
people their entire lives, right? And
Sure.
so,
But the
like,
people-
what makes this guy different?
The people that are negotiating contracts with him are just suits that are like the guy in the boardroom going a fifth pick because he's available. Like the people that are telling him that may say like, oh yeah, he's the best, but Sonny knows the game and
Right.
knows the sport, and he's actually saying things like he's seen these, and I think that she read that he actually knows what he's talking about, because he says this is what they're going to do. He says,
Right.
when you meet with these other companies, this guy is going to be wearing this and doing this, and exactly, because he knows they're just business people.
They're just business people.
Where this guy's a basketball fan and he's knowledgeable, and
But there's one guy, right? Like that's kind of the thing with Adidas is they don't know who's in the guy. I guess the owner of the company had just died.
Yeah, the founder of the company had just died, so they're in kind of a corporate disarray.
And he's like, ask him this. Ask him who's going to be in charge.
Yeah.
And of course, there's like a mini little argument, which is exactly what he thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
So there's no real direction with that company. Now, that company's figured it out in 2023. But
Oh yeah,
they're
they
now
teamed up with Kanye. They're good. Perfect.
Yikes. They did get the NHL contract, though.
Oh,
like, they do the gear for the NHL.
Oh, and they
All
make
day
skates.
Yeah, right.
All day I dream about skating.
That's exactly what it is. It's a Korn reference. Look it up.
It's not a Korn. I mean, Korn has that song,
That's
but
what yeah.
that's a joke that was going around when I was
I heard that
in
from
the
Korn.
8th grade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, they even say it in this movie.
They do.
And like that, yeah. Like I was 13 when this movie was happening.
okay,
So
okay.
like, yeah, like I had that was a joke.
Did he? So that's I was going to ask. So when Jordan debuts, do you remember? Like, was it immediate where he was the superstar, or was it? Did it just kind of happen over time as he got better?
I don't really. So I'm not a sports guy.
Sure,
So like
sure.
Oh.
But I mean, you know,
I don't
but-
pay attention to that.
Would you put Jordan on the same level as Hulk Hogan?
No,
Yeah,
I'd
well-
put him higher.
You put who? That's what I'm saying.
But,
though.
but like,
yeah.
even
you
though we're not
recognize
sports
Hulk
guys,
Hogan.
we know
Yeah,
of Jordan, and he's the
feel
best.
like
He played for the
didn't-
Bulls. We
I
know
feel
that
like
stuff,
it didn't.
yeah.
I didn't kind of know who Jordan was until like the early '90s.
Until Space
Okay.
Jam
Yeah.
came out. Right?
No, I knew before Space Jam,
Oh, okay.
but like I remember being aware of Jordan when I was in college, not high school.
Okay.
And so I
When
like
did he get traded to the Toon Squad? Do you,
when he retired.
but so like yeah, like the early Jordan stuff.
Sure.
Like
Not college. I'm not talking about college.
I'm talking about
yeah.
me in college. So I
Yeah,
like
okay.
84 I would have just been starting high school. I graduated in 88 and so I started college in the fall of '88. I seem to remember him like '89, '90.
Okay,
I think is when I start hearing
rumblings of Michael Jordan.
I like where he's big enough to where it's not just a basketball story.
Got it. I got it. Okay. Yeah, so he lays it all out, and all of a sudden he goes back, and everybody's pissed off at Sonny. And then we get the call that they're going to take a meeting with Nike. They're going to be at
the Chris Messina call.
Yeah,
this is when he blows up.
That's
on
great. I
cannot
love this
believe
scene.
you would do this, and it basically undermines if you're cutting out the agent to set up these kind of
Right.
things. Then why do you need
I
to pay
do love he's like
5% of millions of dollars?
Right.
If this doesn't work, I'm going to chop your
Oh
balls
my
off. And
gosh.
he's going crazy.
And again, I don't blame him.
No.
like that's literally his job. And if you're cutting him out, then yeah, at some point,
It's a lot of money.
Like that mom's very savvy, and at some point, the mom's going to turn around and be like, "And you get
didn't-
paid for what now?"
You didn't negotiate this deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, he just goes off. I don't know how much that was improvised or
was
what, but
great.
he's just like he's doing that whole thing where it's like I'm going to cut your balls off and feed them to you, and then you're going to them out, and then I'm going to feed them to your dog, and then I'm going to make you like you're just doing the whole.
And I do like where he goes, Matt Damon goes, what happens if it works? He's like, we'll
then
be
we're
best friends.
best friends.
So they realize that now they've got this meeting, so they have to. Jason Bateman is in charge of like advertising
Yeah,
or
he's
marketing,
the marketing
guy. So I like where
Rob Strasser is his real life character name.
I like that. If I think they go down and talk to the shoe designer, and he's just like,
Peter.
"Do I need to be here like tomorrow?" He's like, "If you're not here tomorrow, don't bother
Don't come
coming
in
in.
Sunday. If you're
Come
not
in
here on
Sunday."
Saturday, don't come in Sunday.
And
Yeah, they basically have a weekend to come up with what the shoe is because like
pitch.
we need the best shoe ever created. How long do I have?
Monday.
Yeah, until Sunday
And
night.
I love that.
And this nerd's like, "Well, luckily, I've been thinking about this my entire life."
Yeah, right. And the running gag is that Chris Messina makes a mention of Air Jordan in a conversation, and then when they finally reveal the shoe, and
Peter says
Peter
it, right?
says he's like, I was just thinking like the Air Soles or whatever, but what if we call them the Air Jordans?
And he's like,
and
oh,
Sonny's
he's like,
oh,
this David said that, but he
you know
said it.
what?
You heard him, right?
You know
so
what, Peter, you said it.
Yeah.
They're Air Jordans.
Well, the way I remember that conversation playing out, and I only watched the movie once, he technically said Air Michael Jordan.
oh, slick.
Yeah.
And these are the Air Jordans.
At least, at least that's how I remember. Because I remember when he said it, it sounded clunky. I was like, Air Michael Jordan? That's too much.
I remember him saying like he wanted a line like something Michael Jordan's, like the whole name.
Yeah.
I remember.
Oh, sure,
because
sure,
it
sure.
stood out where I'm like, oh, it didn't get called that. I really like this part about the color because he's like, we want to make him the color of the Chicago Bulls that'll be playing for, and then
The NBA
he
has-
knows there's a regulation.
the NBA has a rule where it has to have a certain percentage of the shoe.
They
has
want
to
it
be
mostly white.
Yeah.
They don't want distract. And then he comes up with the idea is like make them Chicago Bulls red, make them red, all red, or a lot of red on them, and we'll pay the fines, $5,000 a day. Or
Don't worry
game.
about it.
Yeah.
And that changed the game.
That's genius, though. I mean, that is
because
so
he's
genius.
like, it's a commercial,
Right.
And
Yeah.
people are going to
Every-
write stories about how we're paying
Oh
these
my
fines.
gosh.
What I struggled with here is that there are 82 basketball games.
yes.
That's $410,000. So
lot of
they'll
money.
pay more in fines than they're paying. They're themselves over $250.
Right.
But they're willing to pay $410 a year if they sign him.
Were there that many games at the time?
82 games a year. Oh,
I
yeah. No,
think so.
I don't think they've changed their
I
schedule.
mean, if they did, it can't be
Okay.
radical.
Yeah, because I mean the baseball is 162. I think hockey is 82. I think, and then football is 12.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why Phil Knight is crapping his pants.
Well, I
when he
do-
comes to that meeting, says it's like,
yeah, he
"Whoa."
does. But I was just like, but where are they getting that money from?
But I mean, they're $1 billion company.
Well, yeah, but then they could, making that argument, then just offer Jordan 500.
I didn't
right?
understand that.
Yeah.
If you're saying that you're $1 billion company and you want this guy, why not just offer him more money?
Well, I think because they don't see the future sales on basketball shoes the way they do on
Well,
running
they're a
shoes.
publicly
That's fair.
traded company, and
did they just go public? Is that what they were saying? Is
not
like that
just, but it happened in the past decade at some point, and I think it's like, well, if we're not bringing in, when they have to do their quarterly earnings,
Yeah.
and they're not bringing in money from basketball shoes, and you're raising your budget double, they're
Yeah.
gonna fire Phil Knight. Like
Yeah.
you can't make those type of decisions.
Because, I mean, really, this shoe ends up creating a market that didn't previously exist.
That's exactly
And-
right.
And, like, you don't know that that's there. You know what the market is for running shoes. So,
Right.
like, that's
I think you know what it's there for basketball, just not for Nike, right? Because you've got
No, but I'm
Adidas
talking about
and-
like, but it's a sports shoe. It's a shoe
for
that
fashion.
it's a shoe that you wear when you're performing a certain activity,
Okay.
but you don't continue to wear it
Right.
afterwards in the same way that you do a running shoe.
That's fair.
If it didn't take
at the
off,
time.
things could have gone completely differently.
Yeah.
I mean, he bet it all. He gambled the entire budget plus if this didn't work out, Phil Knight could have been fired. They would have all been fired. The basketball division closed. I mean, that was a big gamble to not only give them all $250, but that $5,000 a game. And that's why I think Phil
Yeah.
Knight was like, "We're doing
Yeah,
what?"
we're doing what?
'Cause
And
that's all-
points.
And points.
Well,
Yeah.
And like,
But that doesn't come up till the very end.
Yeah,
because
but
that's
right.
like you think it's all happy, a bow
Right.
on it, it's all happy,
Yeah.
and she
then
drops that bomb, and he's just like, "Ah,
The only thing I can think with the paying the fees is that that's a marketing budget.
comes out of the advertised like
Oh.
And
commercials.
so he's
yeah.
like, well, I'm the marketing guy, so I've decided that that's a good use of my marketing budget.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
I think that's fair coming out of marketing because it is, and that is brilliant when you think about it. Though, like you said, I mean, everyone's going to be talking about it, whether you're at the game, on TV, the news, the
Oh,
papers.
yeah.
The fact that and now it's the 10th game in a row that Michael Jordan has been fined. But I
Right.
mean, that is a nonstop story gaining attention.
I think you can compare it to Colin Kaepernick at this point, like as a modern day, where it's like every game, every Sunday, you were hearing about him not playing or taking a knee or doing whatever, and it just became a thing. And I think back then, I don't remember athletes being as politically active. I'm sure they were.
Oh, sure, Muhammad Ali.
I guess that's
not
true.
Going to the
Not going-
draft,
yeah.
the Olympic raising of the
fists,
fist.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, it's
Were that consistent though? I mean, like compared to Kaepernick, who was doing it.
I think Ali's very.
I think that's fair.
But
but this isn't even political, though.
Yeah,
it's
but
just
this
like
isn't
this
political.
is
But I mean,
just
it's like
like
a newsworthy.
But
it's
this,
a manufactured controversy with
Yeah,
no
right,
politics.
right.
So since there's no politics, people can be like, "That's pretty smart." Like they're like, even if they're against it, they're like, "But you're getting what you want."
Yeah.
Hat
Sure,
tip,
sure. So they bring the Jordans come
now
in.
in real life, though, or at least eventually, they go, "Hey, this fine isn't stopping him. We're going to raise that fine, right?" Like
I would think.
NBA eventually goes, "Well,
Yeah.
if he's willing to pay that, he'll pay 10. We'll take 10,
until
15.
I think that goes for a while until they realize who he is. There comes a point where Michael Jordan becomes bigger than the NBA,
sure.
and then the NBA is like, whatever you want, Mike,
Yeah.
whatever
Right.
you need.
I think that's probably also a wake up call to the NBA and professional sports in general, which is like, we've got a lot of real estate we could be selling.
Mm-hmm.
Like these people saw that these players are billboards. Well, we're going to make them our billboards.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. So they have the meeting. We see the shoe for the first time. It's a great looking shoe.
Yeah.
And in typical white collar fashion, out of touch fashion, they set up this highlight reel of Jordan in Carolina playing for North
This
Carolina.
was so dumb.
But it is so dumb.
I'm watching this and I'm just like, this is so dumb. Like from a strategy standpoint,
Yes.
not critiquing the film, because I'm like,
What are you doing?
Like they already know that he's good at the basketball.
Doesn't need
Like,
to watch
this
a highlight
isn't-
reel of himself.
Right, like what? You're not telling them anything about the shoe or why Nike's better than these other companies. Like you're just showing him a mirror. Like he already knows that he can do all these things. What are you accomplishing?
And they love it, with the exception of Sonny. They're all just watching the video. They being Chris Tucker, Ben Affleck, Jason Bateman, and Matt Damon.
Everybody in the room except the people that you need to sell.
Correct. And and Matt Damon can see it happening.
Yeah.
He can see this slipping away, and he's like, Turn
Before
that-
they even cut back, it's funny because like as a marketing guy, before they cut back to the family, I was just like, "What?
You're losing
I'm
them.
like, knowing nothing about sports at the same time, I was like, "Does this work? Like who? Like what? You're showing them nothing.
It's
like,
so generic.
It is
Yeah,
and then so he, Sonny stands up. He's like, "Turn that off," and he
Phil's like,
gives,
"What are you doing?"
Yeah,
What
that's right. Everybody's like, "What are you doing? Like you're screwing this up." And he gives a great speech about how in 100 years we're all going to be gone, all of us except you. Like you are going to be this thing that's going to be you're going to you're
bigger than all of
everlasting.
us.
You're everlasting. And the Jordans stand up and they walk out, and everybody in the room's like, "Where did that come from?" He was like, "Oh, just wherever."
I've been watching a lot of Mad Men.
So and now there's just like there's time right now. He's just
It's waiting. Waiting game.
And you're not, and he can't really do anything at work because they've put all their money
That's his
into
whole
this
work
one
is
guy.
waiting for Jordan to call. Yeah.
Yeah, because we haven't said. But in the meantime, while they're chasing Jordan, even if they don't get him, it frees up the budget. But everyone else has been signed
Correct.
at that point.
Yeah.
So it really is all the.
It is
eggs are in
crazy
one
to look
basket.
at the names because I was watching basketball at this point, but all of the names that they talk about were guys that I like. That
I was playing NBA Jam.
but
Larry
sure, you know
Bird,
who
Scottie
those guys
Pippen,
are, right?
Charles Barkley. Yeah.
Meadowlark Lemon.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. But man, I remember that dream team. That
Yeah.
96.
I followed that too, and I wasn't a sports guy, but I followed the whole thing with the dream team.
That 96 dream team where you're just like, who would want to play these guys? Because they're going to murder all of you.
Yeah.
But it's just a waiting game. And finally he gets the call from Viola Davis and she says, we're going to go with Nike. He wants the car. And he's like, not a problem.
Yeah.
And
Like,
then
what's another 20 grand at this
yeah,
point?
right.
Yeah.
And then she hits him with the points.
Oh, and this must have been an oversight, surely, but there was nothing in here about him getting a percentage of each sale. So just
Great.
make sure to.
So good. Viola Davis is one of those actresses where you could give her the phone book.
Yeah.
And she is going to turn it into
great.
gold.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you could see almost like he got kicked in the nuts.
Right.
Because
He just
Because
knew
no
that
one's
one.
ever done it, and he knows he doesn't have the juice to push that through.
Correct.
He had to go to the mat, not to mix metaphors.
Had to go to the Ben. He's
Yeah.
he had to hit the paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get the 250.
Right.
And now it's like, oh, and one other thing, we'd also like, if it's okay with you, all the money in the world.
Which is, it's one thing to, he's overextended, but he
And
got
now-
the budget, but to change the industry.
I will say, as somebody who makes offers for a living with bands, my first thought was like, what do you care? Like
That's kind of where I'm at.
because I'm like, if the shoe works and it makes all the money that it's going to make,
Spoilers.
you're still making a bunch of money. And if it makes no money, then you're like, well, that was nice. We're done with you.
Right.
And then you rename the shoe. And
Yep.
because he doesn't own the rights to like the likeness of the shoe.
No.
Right? It's just if you put his name on it. So you take his name off of it and you put the next guy's name on it. And
I just think
you don't
it's
owe him any money.
I think it's just the fact that they're the business. They've put all this money up front, and Viola Davis makes all those great points that like, yeah, but your shoes don't sell unless he performs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But they're like, okay, we've already overextended ourselves. We have to make this money back, and every percentage point of one sold is money they're not getting back from their huge investment. So I think it's just,
Yeah.
even though you're right, if it takes off, it's still great for everyone. But still, it's like, well, that's the businesses. They invest and they need their money back.
Spoilers. It takes off.
Oh yes, they expected that they would sell.
I think it was like $3 million worth the
Yeah.
first year, and it said they sold $162 million.
Like,
I do like that in that speech that Sonny gives. He's like, "This is just a shoe until your son puts his foot in it," and she flips that around on him.
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
like, "It's just a shoe until my son
Yeah.
puts his foot in it."
Yeah.
So he's like,
Well, he says it's just a shoe until someone steps into it, and then
Oh,
she
you're
flips
right,
by
you're right.
says,
Yes,
saying
yes.
it's just a shoe until my son steps
"Yes,
into
that's
it.
that's a great
Yeah.
line." So he goes to Phil and he's like, "Look, I'm sorry. Like we gave him everything,
Yeah.
but they want points, and we can't do that." And I do love that Phil's just like,
Yeah.
"Give it to him."
Yeah.
At this point, whatever.
And Sonny's just like, "Are you serious right now?" And he's like, "Yeah,
Go
why
get
not?
'em. Yeah.
This is how I built this company." And they sign Jordan, and he becomes, he wears the shoe game one, I think, I think at the very beginning of the first season. And look at it now.
Yeah.
I was looking it up just now. The 1984 Nike Airships worn during Jordan's rookie season in his 5th game with the Bulls. How much do you think those shoes,
Like the actual ones he
the
wore,
actual
or,
ones that he,
or that model of
it,
shoe.
This doesn't say. It just says that let's see. It says that it's maybe it's the model or that edition of the shoe.
Okay. There's a big difference between game
first
worn
release.
stuff versus
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, game worn stuff, I'm guessing now would be in the tens
yeah.
of millions.
This one says that this is the pair that was worn by Jordan.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So what do you think that they sold for?
5 million.
Oh, that's what I would think. $1.5 million.
Well, what
For-
year they'd probably sell?
2011.
Yeah. So
Okay,
now,
yeah.
if
Yeah,
they were
right,
reselling them, yeah.
And they were $64 is how much they were.
Yeah.
Those first runs, and it's just like that's crazy.
that's history, though. Like,
Yes,
yeah.
you're absolutely right. It is history.
Yeah, there wasn't really a shoe collecting market prior to this.
There is now.
Right. I mean, I
There's
think
Which
guys
that's
on-
probably
mystifies me because I'm just like, you wear shoes. As soon as you put them on, you're
people that don't collect
You're
them don't-
damaging.
They
There's-
don't wear them.
there are
they keep them on a
crazy.
shelf and look at them.
whole
it's just,
TikTok like channels
Yeah.
that are dedicated to guys bringing in shoes and like reselling them, and it's like, this is crazy.
It's a huge
It is
industry,
crazy. Yeah, and they win. Right, like Nike wins.
Yeah.
and they win the
Everybody
greatest, the greatest the greatest competitive athlete.
Yeah.
I mean,
of all time.
This Sonny changes history here. I mean, if he goes with Adidas, if he goes with Converse, whatever, I don't know if those shoes would have ever taken off. And obviously, hindsight's 2020, but we are watching this movie and we know what happens.
Right.
Think about being the guys that had the idea, the guys that bet it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they changed everything about the industry with this move.
Big time. Well, it's and Sonny, to his credit, we find out at the end, he changes the history again when he kind of goes to bat for college athletes to get endorsement deals.
Right.
That's so crazy for the longest time that they couldn't make any money in the schools. Made.
Officially.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
But
Officially.
Which is why you had all that sketchy
Right.
Correct.
stuff going on. Because, like, if you're that kid and you're like, I mean,
I'm on billboards. I'm on your
yeah.
cups.
you're
I'm on,
playing in a stadium that's NBA level quality. Like, there's clearly hundreds of millions of dollars getting generated here, and they get none of it.
What are they
because, like,
telling? Publicity.
we need to keep it pure.
Right.
Like,
right. Well, it's the purity of the sport.
yeah.
Shut
and
up.
you're going to get drafted. You know, the NBA is going to see you. That's
Right.
basically what they're promising them is the publicity of it
Yeah.
all, and they're collecting hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah.
on these, and now
Crazy.
I think those kids can get paid.
yeah,
I think that's
There's
right.
deals now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can get endorsed. They don't get paid by the schools, but they can have endorsement.
but they can
They can get endorsement
which is
deals, yeah.
who's paying the big bucks.
Right.
Yeah, but it's still kind of horseshit. They don't get paid by the schools.
right.
Well,
But they
especially
can't-
if
yeah.
you're being drafted by the school.
Right.
Right. Like, I mean,
I think
remember,
they're just trying, but they're trying to make it so that the schools can't just buy the play, like because it's education.
do
I think
that
they don't want to
anyway.
mix.
But they're doing and like, but there needs to be some sort of like. Then a percentage goes into a pool and it's
Yeah,
split among
right.
all the players. Like, and nobody makes more than anybody. But there needs to be some.
Yeah.
They make so damn much money.
so much money off
It's
those kids.
Yeah,
All
it's-
of it.
It's gross.
Look at colleges in general. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
how it's crazy how much money is in that system.
Oh, I know. I have one starting in the
Yes,
fall.
you do. Yeah,
Yeah, I am painfully well aware. Painfully.
I'll adopt him. You
Yeah.
can go to sleep.
Where's
for
he
free.
going? If you don't mind saying.
Oh
Where
yeah,
did
no,
he end up?
he's going to the Norwalk Conservatory of the Arts.
Oh, okay.
Dang,
cool.
that's awesome.
It's which sounds fancy, but it's brand new. This is their first year. He
Okay.
will be their
Okay.
first graduating class, so we're kind
Wow.
of rolling the dice. And
just like Nike.
just like Nike,
Yeah.
I am Phil Knight. I am Sonny
Have him
Vaccaro.
create a shoe line
that
and then
kid-
wear him at graduation.
That kid better be Michael Jordan. But yeah, it's brand new, and it's started by this guy who, for lack of a better term, seems to be kind of like the fixer for theater programs. He's gone into colleges for years and like, yo, here's what you should do to adjust your theater
okay,
program.
okay.
So he's got a lot of experience, and it's not just like, Joe's School of Acting.
Oh, I
It's,
want to see that school.
It's like Accepted, like the movie Accepted,
Yeah.
where they make their own college.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's been like a certificate program for, I guess, 8 or 10 years. And so they're leveling up to be a college.
That's awesome.
And so the thought process is normally when you go to a performing arts school, they make you sign as part of your agreement that you won't audition for anything professionally while you're there.
While you're there.
Yeah. So you have to wait until you graduate or leave. And this school is like, that noise, like, you needs to get paid. And so
We needs the recognition too.
and so they're like, the whole thing is because it's like 40 minutes outside of New York. So they're like, your kid will be auditioning. He will be like, we met with like the guy who created the school, and he's like, the dream is your son drops out because he signed a deal with HBO Max. Like he's like, there's too much work for kids of this age. And he's like, so why make him wait until he's 23 to start going and trying to book
Cool.
Oh, that
these
makes
sorts
sense.
of roles.
Yeah, that makes total
and
sense.
they're like, so we're going to teach them, and it's also very business oriented. Like, we went up there for like 4 days and got the pitch, and I mean, they were kind of showing you like they're going to teach them like how to get the right headshot, how to build your resume, like how to deal with like. And they had casting agents in. They had the director of Hamilton there, like
Dang.
the current one, not Lin-Manuel Miranda, but it was crazy.
That's
And
awesome.
so there's 3 different tracks you can be on: musical, theater, dance, and TV and film. And they put them in TV and film.
yeah,
Oh,
that's the way to
wow.
do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
so-
where to
Cool.
go.
Yeah.
Well, remember for his Oscar speech.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're planting the seeds here, and we're gonna have little Oscar speeches all over the place.
But yeah, and that's how this ends, right? Is it becomes one of the most famous shoes of all time. Michael Jordan goes on to be
Michael Jordan.
That's
So I told my wife when we were watching this, they were like, Michael Jordan went on to blah, blah, blah. I was like, they should have just said Michael Jordan went on to be Michael Jordan.
It is funny to look at his career, and then when he retired, and then he went to go play for the White Sox for that cup of coffee, and then he came back to basketball and played for the Wizards,
Yeah.
and then and then he went back to the Bulls and won more championships with Chicago. It's bonkers. It's crazy.
And I think that's part of like knowing nothing about sports, but that's part of what made Jordan so great is he was willing to shift, right? His game changes as he gets older. He can't
Jump from the free throw line.
He can't be quite the same force of nature that he was, but he can still do other things infinitely better than other people to make the team rise. And so like
it's crazy. It's a crazy story. And
Phil Knight would go on to buy Leica for his son.
But also Nike buys Converse at one point,
Yeah.
But
his son is the head of Leica.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Travis Knight is Phil Knight's son.
Okay.
And he was going to school
Nepo baby.
for film and animation. And Leica was not started by him. There was a company, and Phil Knight buys it, and Travis Knight.
must be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, they've made some great stuff,
They have,
but
though. You're not wrong.
I mean,
Yes.
after the purchase and everything, but he started working there, and Travis didn't immediately take it over. He started working there, and then like quickly,
I don't like the way this is being run. I'm buying
but
it.
like he did give him like a actual position there. But then, I mean, it was like a very quick
I bet
ladder
it was.
climbing,
I
and
bet
now
it
he's
was.
the head of the whole studio. But Travis Knight directed Bumblebee, one of the best Transformers movies.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes,
I mean, he's not directing the new one, right? Hope not.
No,
'Cause
he
it looks
isn't.
real bad.
No, but I was hoping he would keep making them because the
Bumblebee was good. Bumblebee
It was better than those other ones.
Had a lot of
boy.
heart to it. you know?
Again, low bar.
Yeah.
Real low.
Touche.
Yeah, this is
is
great.
a fun story.
This is a really fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously like
Yeah.
The Big Short. I think does. Some people think that it does.
It
It's just
does.
like-
I mean, the Big Short, but that's a serious point that
It
it's
is.
making in it. But I think they did a really good job in the Big Short of taking a serious, complex topic and explain it in a way that made sense to the average person.
Correct.
And I'm considering myself one, but still maintained your interest.
Yes.
It
That's all
wasn't
he's-
an eat your vegetables thing.
That's all he's doing now. Adam McKay's next movie is another
Dang.
about some other type. Like that's all he does now is make these kind of
That's a shame.
thinking political, making interesting things funny
Right.
and palatable. Like I guess
I
that's
don't mind
his niche.
that as much. But what was the last one he did? That was
Don't Look Up.
Oh boy.
Don't. Yeah.
I like Don't Look Up, but
I
got a lot
wanted
of
to
hate.
like it. It was okay. Like
Yeah.
it just, but it was. Yeah.
No, this is really.
But it was
really
so
good.
like the Don't Look Up was such a. I think a lot of the people that were actually hating on it, not just thought it was okay, but like people hating on it,
Right.
are the people who are going to deny it in the sake
Absolutely.
of
Yeah.
making money for the news network. It was such a true movie, like everything
for
he
sure.
was saying,
Yes.
about how dumb it was. Idiocracy,
It was-
but like
yeah.
an updated.
It was an elevated idiocracy.
Yeah, and it's like, man, that's exactly what people would do. Is they
Yep.
would go on. We would get influencers in, and the influencer would say, "Oh no, you don't have to worry about that," and people would go, "Yeah, see, because
you don't have
whoever
to worry
said
about
it,
that.
oh, it's so true."
Yeah.
It is true.
So
there you
anyway, that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at Joey Butts, BUTTS21.
And on Letterboxd at
And on
Joey Butts
Letterboxd at the same.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
And this is Tom. You can follow me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, Robert pays for Nathan's gift.
Get ready for a spoiler